1. Irregular rhythms. Caught from your wrist. No clinic, no wires, no appointment. In about 30 seconds, a smartwatch flags atrial fibrillation. That is the exact rhythm that throws stroke-causing clots. Here is exactly how it works. Here is the scary part. Atrial fibrillation often has no symptoms at all. No pain, no flutter you would notice. Yet it raises your stroke risk roughly 5 times. Millions of people carry it and have no idea. For most, the first clue is the stroke itself, or a scramble to the emergency room. So how does a gadget you already wear catch something a healthy body hides? Start with the sensor you never see. Flip the watch over. Those little green lights are not decoration. They are the first half of the whole trick. Here is how they read your pulse without a single wire. The watch shines green LEDs straight into your skin. Right beside them sits a photodiode, a tiny light detector. Blood absorbs green light. So every time your heart beats, a fresh wave of blood surges through the vessels in your wrist. That surge soaks up a little more of the green glow. Between beats, less blood, less absorption. The detector sees the light dim and brighten in time with your pulse. That is it. From those flickers of reflected light, the watch reconstructs the exact timing of every heartbeat. This whole method has a name. Measuring blood volume by how it changes reflected light is called PPG, an optical pulse reading. Why the wrist? Because just under that skin sits a dense mat of tiny capillaries. They are close enough to the surface for the light to reach and bounce back cleanly. And here is the part that makes it powerful. You do nothing. No button, no chest strap, no thinking about it. The watch samples your pulse quietly in the background, while you sleep, while you type, while you wash dishes. It is passive, always listening. But knowing when each beat lands is only step 1. A pulse reading tells you the watch can hear your heartbeat. It does not yet tell you whether that heartbeat is normal. So what turns a string of pulse timings into a warning? Now the clever part. The watch does not just count beats. It measures the gaps between them. Beat gaps, beat gaps. Line up all those gaps and you get a pattern of timing intervals. This is the tell. A healthy heart is a metronome. The gaps are even beat, 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 steady and predictable. You could set a clock by it. Atrial fibrillation looks nothing like that. Doctors have a phrase for it, irregularly irregular. Not just fast, not just slow. Chaotic. Long gap, short gap, medium, tiny, long again, with no repeating rhythm anywhere. The spacing scatters. And that scatter is exactly what the watch is trained to spot. Picture it as raindrops on a roof. A normal heart is a steady drip, drip, drip. AFib is a random downpour. You cannot predict the next drop. But a random-looking pattern is a trap. Your gaps scatter when you climb stairs, when you are startled, when you move your arm wrong and the sensor slips. So the algorithm refuses to trust a single glimpse. It samples again and again over hours, and it only raises a flag after multiple readings all point the same way. That patience is deliberate. It is how the watch cuts down on false alarms that would send you panicking to a doctor over nothing. And notice what it is doing here. It is screening, not diagnosing. It is watching a proxy, the timing of blood waves, not the heart's actual electrical wiring. A strong hunch, not a verdict. So when it does get suspicious, it does not diagnose you. It taps you on the wrist and asks you to do one thing. This is where the second sensor wakes up. The watch just nudged you, your rhythm looks off, please take an ECG. So you press your fingertip to the crown, that little dial on the side, and hold for 30 seconds. Something specific happens in that moment. Look at the back of the watch and the metal crown you're touching. Each is an electrode, a contact that reads the tiny electrical voltage your heart gives off. Your heart runs on electricity. Every beat is a spark that sweeps across the muscle. When your finger touches the crown while the back sits on your wrist, you close a loop. Finger up your arm, across your chest, back to the wrist. Your own body completes the circuit. For 30 seconds, the watch records that electrical signal directly. And this is the leap that matters. The green light sensor only ever watched blood moving, an echo of the heartbeat, one step removed. This new reading listens to the electrical spark itself, the thing that actually drives the beat. It is the difference between hearing a drum through a wall and standing in the room. That single wire's eye view of the heart's electricity has a name. One viewpoint on the signal is called a single lead. At the end of the half-minute, the watch hands you a verdict from a short menu. Normal sinus rhythm, the healthy pattern. AFib, that irregular signature, now confirmed electrically. Inconclusive, it could not tell, often from a shaky hand or a heart rate too high or too low to read. 4 clean outcomes from 1 fingertip in 30 seconds. But hold on. If a wrist can read your heart's electricity, why does the hospital still strap 12 wires to your chest? Here is the honest limit nobody in the ad tells you. Your watch takes 1 viewpoint of the heart. A hospital ECG takes 12. 12 leads, wires on your chest and limbs, each looking at the heart from a different angle. 12 angles let a cardiologist pinpoint a heart attack, locate exactly which wall of the heart is starving, and untangle a whole zoo of rhythm problems. One angle cannot do that. Your watch sees the beat's timing and shape, but it cannot tell where in the heart something went wrong. So the watch is deliberately narrow. It is cleared by regulators for one specific job: spotting atrial fibrillation. Not heart attacks, not the dozens of other arrhythmias. That one rhythms. And within that narrow lane, it is genuinely good. For AFib specifically, studies report the watch catches it and rules it out correctly the large majority of the time. But good is not perfect. It still throws false positives, flagging AFib that is not there. It still returns inconclusive readings when your hand shakes or the fit is loose. A clean recording is a strong lead, not a courtroom verdict. Which is why the last step is not in the watch at all. It is the doctor. That 30-second strip you recorded. It saves as a PDF. You can email it, print it, hand it to your physician. Now they are not starting from your fuzzy memory of a flutter last Tuesday. They are reading an actual recording of the event. Think of the watch as a smoke detector, not a firefighter. Its whole job is to go off loud enough that you call the people who put out fires. So follow that alarm to a real evaluation. And here is how the two sensors finally click together. Now watch the whole machine run. All day, the green lights on the back of your watch read your pulse from those blood wave flickers. Silent, passive, always on. They map the gaps between your beats. Steady gaps, nothing happens. But if that timing scatters into the chaos of AFib, irregular, the watch waits, samples again, and only then taps your wrist. Break time equals 0. 6 is / that tap sends you to the crown. Your fingertip closes the circuit, and for 30 seconds the second sensor records the heart's actual electricity. A real single-lead rhythm strip you can hand to a doctor. That is the full loop, a passive optical guess that quietly watches, promoted to an electrical recording the moment it matters. And here is why it is a genuinely big deal. AFib's danger was always that it hides. No symptoms, silent until the clot. This puts a screening tool on the wrist of anyone wearing the watch. It catches the silent version early enough to actually do something about the stroke risk. But keep the limit in view. It is a screen and a strip, a tripwire, not a treatment. It finds the problem. Real people in white coats fix it. So that is the trick. Green light quietly watching your pulse, and a single-lead ECG standing by to record the proof. 2 sensors, 1 30-second catch. Worth checking tonight. Open your watch's health settings and confirm both the irregular rhythm alert and the ECG app are actually switched on. Many people never turn them on. Next up, what those 12 hospital leads see that your wrist never can. This is general information, not medical advice.